Okay, call to order at 12:45. Would everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Yeah, for a second there. Okay, number 3 on our agenda, board discussion and news worth sharing. Well, that's,
Part of it.
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it, okay. Yeah. So we are looking for the NISBA delegate. I want to give some quick background.
Jim will explain the position.
I did it last year. The negative side to it, or the negative, is that at least last year it was about an 8 to 9 hour meeting. It's not supposed to be that long this year. That it was long towards the end. For a while it got funny. By funny it means they're like, why aren't you on camera? And they're like, because I'm in bed. And then it got, the way it progresses, you start with like the NISBA recommendations, and then you move on, then you move to the very, anything can suggest anything they want. And why it got nasty was because people saying, well, what we were able to do is we were able to cut off discussion and go right to a vote. And it was like, you don't even want to hear us talk because it's 12 o'clock at night and you all want to go home, which was true. The advantage to it is that you do get to hear a lot, and you get to hear and learn a lot, like from a legislative point of view of what different districts are thinking. One example is that was minor, that one district wanted to have it so that the student ID card across the state could be used for like school lunches, in the bookstore, and the whole theory was that if someone was on some sort of financial aid or government aid, that no one can distinguish it. The other one that was a big deal, you always hear resolutions that say require or require in state funded. Now, state funded doesn't mean the state is going to fund any of this stuff. And the one example was that 45% of the districts voted for this, is that required and funded that every district in the state would provide basically daycare to 12th grade. So in other words, provide and provide transportation for like newborns. And that it would put us in the daycare position. And the thing with that was that would cost, I think at the time, John and Doug said it would cost a fortune to do that. But the point was, is 45% of the districts voted for that. We voted against it. And like, I think, Chuck had said that it would be a massive unfunded mandate. If we say we want this, it's not hard for New York to say, okay, we've just expanded childcare to millions of New York, families. So, and that's a far out example, but those, how wide-ranging it is. So, that's the value of being in there and having a voice in that.
For people watching at home or actually watching the video, NISBA is New York State School Boards Association. So basically, this meeting is a whole bunch of people making motions that we want NISBA to advocate for the legislators to put these regulations in place. So the one for the swipe card, I look at it and I say, well, if you want your swipe card for everything, you as a district can make your swipe card for everything, why should we have to? And that's why we have our meeting to discuss all the NISBA ones in September, the work session, so whoever's the representative knows where Iroquois stands on these. So in the case of the daycare, where it would be a huge expense, and is that a school responsibility or a parent responsibility, the person voting knows where the 7 board members are not making decisions on their own, for their own personal beliefs as the district's beliefs.
And the other big example was that NISBA themselves wanted to advocate for the electric bus issue. However, in that, it was 80% of the districts voted no, so NISBA found themselves that their own priority was shot down by the school districts across the state. So it does have some weight to it in that sense. It just was a little bit of time. So what we're looking for is a volunteer to be the NISBA delegate.
Jim's not going to be happy to hear me say this, but traditionally the person that we vote to be our legislative team representative for ECSB is also the person that is our liaison, is our representative at this NISBA meeting, and that would be you, but you don't want to do it, that's what I'm getting from you.
I'm the alternate.
I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make it, who's the alternate?
Laser beams right
If it's
there.
up your alley, it's all
When
legislative.
is it, when is the?
It is,
I gotta, it's like, it's
It
something
usually
timed
starts
in
at-
8 hours that day.
it is usually a meeting that starts, it's a virtual meeting, and it starts at like 4 o'clock
Yeah,
in the afternoon. And it really isn't supposed to go longer than 8 PM, but it has.
and the thing we talked about is that whoever does this should quite honestly feel comfortable with dropping off, you know, when it's got too long. Once you get through the main, you know, NISBA resolutions, the rest are like, I hate to say it, district could introduce anything they would want.
They're making it so that they can't do that. That's one of the new rules that they're doing. So Scott Johnson from Sweet Home was the chair of a committee to revamp that so that they don't have an 8-9 hour long meeting anymore. And they did some real work to try to assure us that we wouldn't have these ridiculously long meetings. Because at one point, they ended up ending the session because they lost consensus.
That's what happened last,
Yeah,
around 12:35, we lost four.
that's happened for a few years, so.
So when is it, when's that meeting?
No, it's more than,
Yeah.
What's the date of that meeting proposal, Norm, you know?
yeah.
The date of the municipal meeting, and it's takes place.
I know it's in October.
It's October 10th. I looked it up before the meeting. Yeah, it's October 10th.
Well,
Okay.
And then you want to just add on,
So there's also another thing that I just found out about. It's the NISBA legislative liaison. It is different. It is not the person who represents us at this meeting. It's just a person who is kind of like the point person that they send in extra information to about legislative stuff. I don't know. I don't think that there's a time commitment. It's not meetings or anything. It's just that you are receiving more information that you then disseminate to our district. And the way to create that position is we would have to write a resolution to say we nominate this person, and nominated and voted on this person, and then send that to NISBA, and NISBA just makes that person our legislative liaison for the year. So I'd like to see us, I'd like to propose that we have that resolution on our August agenda with one of us as a legislative liaison, so we have an official one. And I think it should be Jim, because he's our legislative.
I would do that. I just
Do
got
we have an alternate for that too?
It didn't say anything about alternates, but we probably could put an alternate down, and in that case, it'd have to be Heather Becker, because those are the people that we nominated. Just for consistency purposes, to have, ECSB and NISBA sort of staying aligned.
I mean, it makes sense, but you see the same thing.
Sound,
So that sounds good, everyone?
okay, so
Well,
we'll put that
Heather Becker is
alternate.
Alternate.
the delegate.
She's the delegate.
Meeting.
She's the person for the meeting. Do we need an alternate, just in case something
No.
happens?
That's what I want to know when the meeting was, to make sure I can
Okay.
commit.
Are we appointing someone to be the liaison?
We have to write a resolution for
That's for the
our
August
August meeting,
Yeah.
to have Jim and then Heather.
Okay.
And we'll contact NISBA and see if they have a canned resolution that we can just copy.
Okay. Other news we're sharing? So ECSB's law conference is on August 7th, and the information just came out in the email today. I think we registered through Nora. So if you're interested in going to that, that's an all-day, it's at Salvatore's, and it starts at, I think, 8 or 8:30, and it ends at like 3:30. And they talk a lot about a lot of education law, things that are going on, things to help us make more informed decisions about what's going on in our district and in our state. And then the back-to-school dinner is on August 22nd. And again, that's another event you would register through dorms.
That's a really cool event.
That was fun, yeah. The speakers are going to be, I think it's the superintendent from Akron, talking about their literacy program. So since that's something that we're talking about here, it might behoove us to go hear what other districts nearby are doing. So I think it's their superintendent, I could be wrong, I think it's somebody else, but I'm pretty sure it's Akron. And that's it for, calendar should be coming out soon.
Okay, any other news for sharing anyone has? Okay, recognition of guests, do we have any?
No.
Okay. Okay, we have the agenda for number 5, discussion of the agenda. Is there any discussion on this agenda?
Because I am on it as having given a donation, I guess I have to abstain from voting on the consent agenda. So that's the only.
Thank you for the donation, and thank you to the other people that donated.
Dave?
You want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, okay. Few things I just want to
When we
mention.
discussed it, we said no with it being short,
Yeah,
and
that's
have
a lot.
to reward all the people, so.
Just want to thank Diane Richard, she's retiring, she's been a bus attendant for us, and want to thank her for all her service throughout the years and for all the students. We're welcoming 2 new science teachers, Zach Colson and Matt Rell. We have a long-term sub going into Wales for the 612. Her name is Candy Gallagher. Erin Redcoff is coming back. She's going to continue doing some long-term subbing for us in Spanish. Barb Walzak, who's been an aide within the district, is moving from part-time and taking into a full-time position. Kim Parker will be our senior clerk typist in the II building, so all the folks coming into II this year. She'll be the first face that everybody needs to meet and greet. And then Ricky Martinez he's been with the district, he's sliding over to a newer title of the labor first over at Amarillo. So I want to, some have already been here, and I want to thank the other ones coming on board.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any requests to withdraw anything from this agenda? Okay. Do we have any requests to add anything to this agenda? Okay, I request a motion to approve consensus agenda items 8.01 to 11.09.
Second.
Bob, move.
Just gotta say, so, do my thing.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor? There is unanimous, no one voted, Jane abstained.
That's not unanimous. But the motion carries.
Yes, motion carries.
Motion carries.
6 in favor, 1 abstention. Okay, now we are number 12. Do we have any guests on any topics on the agenda?
No.
Okay, now I'd like to, we do need an executive session. I'd like to make a motion that we move into executive session
For purpose of discussing litigation.
for purpose of discussing litigation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 7 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries.
Good.
Okay, it's 1:10. We've concluded our executive session. There's one piece of business that we would like to attend to. During the district planning conference that we just concluded, there are requests made by the administrators of the board. And at this point, we're going to have a discussion on whether these are, how we're going to handle this. Are we going to have a meeting? What's the next step? I just want to refresh everyone's mind. The middle school requested for support with MTS. The special ed requested a 4th psychologist and the fully fund the family support center. And then the other ones were that the board continue to provide the finances for the programs that we have continue going on in 6 clubs and technology. So just to start, are there, just a quick straw poll, are there Are the board members interested in having this conversation?
Yes.
Okay. It indicates that we definitely have the members to do it. The one thing I would like to say that I think with all these, and I think we can do it shortly or quickly if everyone's willing, we still would need to have some idea of the financial impact before we approve anything and vote on anything. We can have the discussion, but we would need to know what, the middle school's looking for, the cost, the 4 psychologists, the cost, and what exactly does fully fund a family support center mean at this point. I'm not sure if I totally know what fully fund means.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what he means by that, if it's fully funding the director, or if it's fully funding the director and the support staff they would need, and the facility to have it in. I would have to ask them.
And how much of that is coming from a grant, and when does that grant money run out? At what
Well,
point does the district become financially?
Currently, how we have the grant budgeted for, it will end by then, I will say within 1 year. And John will correct me if I'm wrong, the state government did say if you don't have all the funds expended, you could continue it on 1 more year, but we have it budgeted where we fully expended it, so if we wanted to try to make it a 2-year, we could go back and revisit the grant, but that would now, Mary Jo will help me, because that'll impact staff training and staff development, where you heard about the fully funding and continue what we're doing. So then that would shift that burden somewhere else. So there would be an impact throughout there. Did I get that right, Mary Jo?
So how much was the grant for and how much is left?
200,000 was the original amount.
Okay.
100,000 per year. I would think we're at probably 120-ish,
Left.
130, something like that.
Well, left and budgeted for, so there's that much left, but it's 100% budgeted for to expend.
We know exactly where it's going to be spent, it just hasn't happened yet.
So what is, name one of the trainings that's covered in there, can you off the
Youth
top?
mental health.
Youth mental health is in there, so if we have 20 people coming in for youth mental health and only 15 show up, that would save the cost of 5 people. Or you cancel the training altogether, and that would save the entire cost of it. But then you don't have the training for youth mental health, which you heard from the presentations, that's something valuable.
And in that is the salary for the director
For 1 year.
for 1 year.
So there's $150,000 that we're spending on something else that is not related to this position. Because right, the concern is.
Yeah, it's training for mental health and
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm trying to find I could give you a rough estimate of what we're spending just on youth mental health this year.
Well, that's okay, as long as it's all the stuff in there is for mental health, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we need some clarification when they say to fully fund it, you mean beyond the grant? To sustain the program
That's my
afterwards.
interpretation from what he said in the conversations I've had with him.
Okay.
So, I think that the board definitely, from this list, we want and need to have this conversation, I think, and the time, when do we want to do it?
And then also job description from the middle school.
And with this information, we can have this, as soon as possible, but we're going to schedule that, and we're going to need that information.
We also need time to get this too.
I'm kind of thinking back to a previous meeting we had where we talked about, do we want to move forward with this family center? And we agreed that we did under the grant. And that we were saying that we wanted to see how the program was being created and how it was impacting students before we decided whether we wanted to fund it or, beyond the grant. We still don't have that information because it hasn't really actually begun yet. So, in that regards, haven't we already made that decision?
We still have these 4 psychologists
I know.
and the other topics.
I want to say, yes, you made that decision, but also I would state the staffing and everything for next year, that was decided when the budget was approved by the board, because that was the staffing. The principals asked for this staffing. You know, when I go back to the elementary, middle school, high school, special education who's asking for the foresight, they come and have meetings with us, with myself, John, Mary, Joe, I can't remember if Dave was there or not, and they say, what do you need for staffing for next year? They tell us, and we build the budget, and every request that they ask for was budgeted for from those meetings, from those notes. So therefore, the budget was approved with that. I'm not saying we should change it, that conversation didn't happen, I'm just putting it in context where, you know, where and when you ask for this, and I'm okay for saying, you know, where it is, but if we see what it is, then move forward there. You know,
I mean, even if we just saw what the first quarter of the year looked like with it, if we,
but it doesn't mean we can't get a price tag on the other thing too.
Yeah,
If I want to
definitely.
research into this, we can get a price tag for what they're visualizing it for. Or we don't have to. You know.
and you mentioned the neighboring districts saying, hey, what are you doing over there?
Yeah, so I can
Like,
see what type
we
of
can see
partnership
what-
would they want
Yep.
to do, which would impact our costs too.
Definitely.
So I'm not saying jump on it, I'm just trying to put it in context where you said we already made a decision.
I'm not saying that that I would not fund it beyond the grant. You know, I'm just saying, we've already had that discussion and
Hold up
agreed.
on that one.
Yeah, so I think we can hold off on that just a little
Okay.
bit. But
As long as
in
everyone else
terms
should say, okay, as long as everyone else.
of, that's just my feeling. In terms of looking at a fourth psychologist, I don't think it matters if we have a fully funded center or not. I think that from the reports that we're hearing, it sounds like we need another psychologist. And that's something
So we
to
have to
look
have
at.
that discussion and then
Yeah,
have, so the Family Support Center, I just want to rephrase or circle back, restate the Family Support Center, we can wait to collect more data on that one. The psychologist, seems like something that everyone thinks we should talk about. And then there is, the last one would be support that the middle school asked for. So that kind of brings us back to where we kind of were, and I think I will maybe just, it's kind of tough, but, you know, Doug or John or Dave, how quick can you assemble that information that we would need?
when is our August meeting?
So last Wednesday,
And then basically how quick you guys can assemble it, when do we want to, I mean, do we want to wait till 20, or do we want to have another, a work session?
Generally speaking, you don't take actions in work sessions, so that would be taking action.
You could probably discuss the work session, take the action of the meeting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get my calendar to see what I had.
two of us are
Coming up for all different-
28th, so I don't know. That meeting.
What's that?
The 28th. I will be here and I will be here. So I don't know if you else is there.
We'll get something for it.
Okay, let's do step kind of one then. What do you, I mean, just wait for, what time, Doug, how much time would the administration need to?
I would say at least 2 weeks, because, you know, we're going to have to meet with Ross, go through the job description, possibly, depending on that, talk to the union to make sure that it's the rights for their positions that they want for the work being done.
But isn't
Puts us
it
into
a
the,
contractual agreement?
what's that?
Isn't that position contractual? It's not.
It depends on the job description, because if they're doing work, for instance, if I have a teacher aide and I hired a person as a teacher aide and I put them behind the desk doing attendance in the morning and stuff, then the CSEA unit, even though I hired them that way, and they started that way, maybe worked 5 years that way, could say, no, that's our position because of the work they're doing. The work that was being done in other positions is not claimed. So if I was to take the superintendent of buildings and grounds, that position to me is an administrative position, and the administrative union, if they want to claim that as theirs, because they're claiming, you know, they're overseeing people doing work, they can claim that as an administrative position. They never have. Same thing with the director of transportation, because the athletic director is in the union. And you might say, yeah, we don't care, let it go. So we did have a position in middle school that was an administrative position, and the union said we do not want to claim it. you can do what you want with the code of conduct officer, so that's why it was never in the union. So, you know, and it's up to the union, and, you know, and then it's up to us whether we want to fight it or not, or say no, it's not a job
It
of
seems like a formality.
It really is. Yeah, today's the 24th, we were working on the week of the 29th and the 5th. You're talking the week of the 12th.
We can have that.
Yeah. Except, end of that week, I have a conference the 14th, 15th, 16th, so it'd have to be like that 12th or 13th if we were to have a meeting. What do I have on the 12th? 13th.
It would have to be and the 13th, I can't.
I was gonna say on the 13th, I leave that night for it, so it really have to be the 12th. I don't know what they guys have, what they have for schedule.
So if we did it, we'd be looking at August 12th.
Yeah, other than that, you would be getting into the week of the 9th.
Well, then you're,
I have another conference that weekend too. That looks like.
so it's gonna,
Yeah, it has to be until the 28th. Be part of our regular meeting.
to prove anything. So I guess the
I
question.
mean, I can get stuff out in Friday memos ahead of time, definitely.
So do we want to, does the board want to have a discussion on the 12th?
Can you get the information by then?
Doug, you said you have information for the 12th?
Yeah, I mean, I can get it out in Friday messages too. I mean, if the board just wants the information, I can get it out in Friday memos. If the board wants a discussion to discuss on the information, then the board would have to meet.
Does everyone think?
So the information you're going to provide would be
I'd probably provide it on,
cost.
I'd probably almost be providing it on the 12th when you had the meeting.
Well, what's it? So you're going to provide the cost implications to,
Cost, job description, yeah, that type of thing.
As
For,
well as the information on.
just for what the middle school's asking?
Well, I
for,
would
or
do the
just
site
like
too,
site?
make sure it's
Yeah,
clear,
right.
clear what the duties are, but from what he said, it sounds like exactly what the sites are doing now, but I would include it all together,
Okay.
just because we had some questions on job descriptions, and I want to try to make sure that's clear from now on, what the job description is.
Not to keep driving you guys, we're driving you guys nuts.
If you want to have, if people want to meet on the 12th, I can do that. I think it is a discussion-worthy topic. I don't think we should just be making a decision without having a conversation.
Yeah. Because there's a lot, and I would want another conversation because I think there's a lot of things, budgetary going in future years that become part of this conversation.
Well, and the public deserves to hear the conversation.
And yeah,
And if you're, and that's the other thing, if you're funding it for ever, that's why I want to talk to Ross too about his position, because he did make a comment in there, nobody picked it up. I need something for 2 years. Which also looking at people and when they would retire. So if he says, well, I need position X, and then I can look at our staffing and know this person's retiring in 2 years, that would work out very well, or they're, look like they would retire. So I got to look at working day amount personnel, and because there's a couple individuals in student support that are more senior. Doesn't mean they're going to retire.
Ross has come to you and told you what his needs and wants are, right? What he needs for staffing?
We've had many discussions on it, and one of the discussions was if I needed to write a job description. He said, yep, absolutely, I would sit with you and write the job description. So, and he's presented many different cases to me of trying to move people around and change things. One of them was he'd like to go to 3 school counselors and 2 social workers, and then when someone retires, end up with 3 school counselors and 1 social worker, but then there's other conversations where it's been something different. So I want to get a lockdown that this is what it is.
so then, just keep moving along, are we going to have a meeting on the 12th?
Sure.
And by all means, if any staff members hear those numbers, it's not a done deal, don't worry about anything, we're in discussion.
So I'm assuming it'll be the 12th at 6 p.m.?
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we finished that. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by Jane, second by Todd. All in favor of adjourning?
Yes.
Okay, 7 in favor of adjourning, so that's unanimous this time. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.